And you're listening to KXLU Los Angeles. The program is Center Stage, and my name is Mark Gordon. Every Tuesday night we talk about film. And tonight we're going to talk about a fascinating film called The Machinist. And joining us we have the director, Brad Anderson. Quite a world you have created with The Machinist. How did you get involved with this project?
Nothing surprising. It was just a script written by Scott Kosar. It had been floating around LA for some time, and there was a lot of interest in it, but a lot of people intrigued by the script. But in the end, it just no one wanted to make it, so it ended up in my lap. And I love the script. That's what drew me to it, like it usually is. It's the writing, it's the story, and Scott's script was so spooky, yet elegant, and so visual that I was looking to direct something I hadn't written. My other 4 films I've written or co-written. This one, I was looking to do something where I just had to wear one hat instead of 2 or 3. So, when I found the script, I was like, man, I want to do this movie. This is great. Now we just had to get the money together. And Christian Bale read it shortly after I did, and when he got on board, that kind of helped us generate some more momentum, for the project. But we still weren't able to get the money to make it here in America, so we ended up having to go to Europe to make the film. To Barcelona, Spain, oddly enough. But it was a good choice because over there I had, like I probably wouldn't have had here, I had artistic control. I had pretty much total creative license to make the movie that I wanted to make.
Now, how would you best describe The Machinist?
It's a tough movie to, sum up in a line. I mean, I would describe it as a psychological chiller, not thriller. A chiller. A thriller implies, you're on a ride, and this is a movie that's more about generating a real sense of creating a kind of spooky sense of dread in the audience. I think of it more along the lines of something. To me, it's reminiscent of films like by Roman Polanski or Alfred Hitchcock. It's more about that slow build, generating a level of suspense that keeps the audience hooked. What's the story about? It's really a character study about a man who believes he's the victim of some plot at this machine shop where he works, and in his attempt to sort of figure out what's behind it, starts to realize that maybe he's victimizing himself. So it's kind of a puzzle movie. As he starts to solve the puzzle, he realizes that maybe he's the answer to the puzzle. Like I said, not easy to describe, not easy to sum up, but it's more of an atmospheric type film, I think. It's less about the plot than it is about the tone and the atmosphere.
This is a departure for you because normally you've written the script and you've directed, and so now you're taking someone else's material. Was that unique in itself?
Yeah, it was very refreshing because it gave me the objectivity to step back and look at the material and interpret it in a new way, and also to deal with material that I wouldn't have come up with on my own. I mean, it was it gave me some perspective. And I really enjoyed working with the writer. I mean, normally I'm working with myself because I'm the writer. And that can be really tedious. But working with someone else gave me the chance to bat back and forth ideas in order to come up with a good solution, to use each other as a sounding board, kind of thing. And it was very refreshing, and I want to do more of that. Plus, writing scripts it's time consuming, and I don't want to go 2-3 years between projects. I want to move faster, and so it means finding other material.
We found the perfect actor for this film, Christian Bale, and in watching the film and what he did physically, it kind of it's almost similar to what Robert De Niro did with Raging Bull. Robert De Niro gained all this weight to basically create this character of Jake LaMotta, and in Christian Bale's case, he lost over 60 pounds to basically a man who's trying to disappear as this character. What is it?
Vanishing Man.
Trevor Reznik.
Trevor Reznik.
Trevor Reznik.
Yeah.
So tell me about that process. And
Well, it was in the script. I mean, Scott had described Trevor as a walking skeleton, you know. So it was clear whoever was going to get the part would have to lose some weight. That wasn't the thing that stood out in my mind when I read the script. There was this interesting metaphor of a guy who's slowly being eaten alive or consumed by something, you know, something about some torment, but he doesn't know why. And part of what launches him on his little journey is trying to figure out what the heck is happening to me. So the way he looks when we first meet Trevor is very important. He looks like, I just said, he looks like a walking skeleton. That I think was important dramatically because it begged the question, why? You know, the audience asks that question just as Trevor asks it, and it sort of leads him down the path of discovery. So the more horrific he looked, the more you were interested in learning why he looked that way. And Christian, yeah, he's one of those actors that, you know, he's a committed actor. You know, to him, it's all about immersing himself in a part, becoming the character. And you know, he read Walking Skeleton, and he said, "All right, well, I'll lose 63 pounds, a third of my body mass, and I'll become a walking skeleton." And so he did. And you see him in the movie, and he looks like, you know, it's sort of hard to describe. Some people really are like appalled by it, rightfully so. But I think that was the intent. I mean, there is a horrific, queasy aspect to the story, and his physical look was important to it.
any offers from Weight Watchers for him?
We could have a whole spin-off marketing campaign, the Trevor Reznik diet.
Well, you know, it's one thing I noticed. There are parts of the film where he almost has it almost looks like a skull. You know, his eyes are very darkened, and you almost see this. I don't know. Did you enhance it with a little bit of makeup to give him that?
Not a lot. You know, the director of photography, Xavi Jimenez, is
an awesome job.
Yeah, he loved. I mean, for him, Christian's body was like this canvas that he could play with, because, you know, he just cast a little side light off from, you know, a little key light on the side, and you get these pockets of shadows all over his body, because he's got so many, you know, his rib cage is sticking out, and his face too. His eyes, you know, Christian's eyes, you know, got kind of sunken in his head. So normally, you light an actor's face, you want to fill in those dark eye shadows with some reflection, you know. But we chose not to do that, so that a lot of these close-ups, he looks like you just described. There's almost like he looks like a skull, you know. And you know, it was a little unusual, but I think in keeping with the tone of the movie. One
thing I found kind of interesting is your writer. You know, looking at his credits, I mean, Chainsaw Massacre, and it seems like a lot of these B horror films, right. And you have more of a, you know,
existential,
more like lighter.
Yeah. Well, that was, you know, Scott. This was his first script, The Machinist. He wrote it as a spec right out of film school, so it was his first stab at screenwriting, and it was it's the script that got him noticed by, well, I guess it was Michael Bay's company that ultimately made Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then he's just finished Amityville Horror remake, and now they're doing The Crazies. I mean, he's basically the go-to guy now if you want to do like a horror remake. But, you know, I mean, Scott, he's good for him. He's making a living writing scripts, but I think his passion is in movies like The Machinist, in telling interesting, complex stories. And if that means writing, you know, if that means doing, like, you know, the bigger, more bland studio movie, then he'll do that.
Thanks for tuning in. Just a reminder, you can hear Center Stage live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on KXLU Los Angeles, also streaming on the net at www.kxlu.com. Until next time, this is Mark Gordon, and I'll see you Center Stage.